more importantly than the work is the intent to spread this hope that we certainly all could use right now, given I'm not going to talk a lot about the negatives, right? We all know what they are: the pandemic, the election, the riots, the fires, the Armageddon, the book of Revelations all coming true in the same year. But I'm a beacon of optimistic realism, and I hope I can bring some of that to your viewers today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Frank McKinney. As Tim said, I'm just a corn-fed country boy that came to Florida with a $50 bill and no education. Matter of fact, I spent 7 stints in juvenile detention as a young boy, going to 4 high schools in 4 years. I eventually landed in South Florida, got a job on a golf course digging sand traps. I was around the affluent. I was around the lifestyles of the rich and famous. It was a program that was on TV when I was younger, and I got to see people live it for real. For those of you who don't know the name of the program, just think MTV Cribs. The same thing, kind of that voyeuristic lifestyle where you get to look inside the lifestyles of the rich and famous. I left the golf course as a maintenance worker, began maintenance working on the tennis courts, got a 25-cent an hour raise, but was odd to me is the same people that were playing golf all day were playing tennis in the afternoon. I wanted that lifestyle. So fast forward to me getting educated and being able to buy and sell real estate before it was popular. We were flipping houses that were worth less than $100,000. Matter of fact, for the first 5 years of my career, I didn't do a house worth more than 100 grand. I then graduated to building houses on spec on the ocean. And since then, and since 1992, we have done 44 direct oceanfront spec homes, houses built without a buyer in mind, with an average selling price of $14.5 million. I just sold my final masterpiece after almost 30 years in the business. And I'm actually coming to you today from the road, a pre-launch tour for my 7th book, where I'm actually traveling across America in a Yugo. For those of you who don't know what a Yugo is, look it up. It was supposed to be one of the most unreliable cars ever built, 0 to 60 in never, and especially 0 to 7,000 miles across the country in a wing and a prayer. So that's me. But, the title that I gave to my talk was Forget the New Normal. I want a more frequent extraordinary. I don't watch a lot of the media. I think as part of my new book, I'm teaching people how to create their own reality rather than have their realities created for them through the different mediums, the different screens, right? There's a screen here. You're watching a screen. There's a screen over my shoulder where a TV is. There's so many screens that create their own reality. And one of the things I heard on those screens often was, we're in for a new normal. Well, I'm not going to curse on this program, but who wants a new normal? Like, who wants a normal to begin with? I don't want an old normal. I believe that, let's refer to the pandemic in particular, that the Earth spins at 1,000 miles per hour on its axis. That is a scientific fact. And for one reason or another, God chose to stop that Earth dead in its tracks back in March. No more spinning globe. Everybody's world came to a stop. And I used that time, the early days of the pandemic, to read old journals, to kind of go back and do a postmortem on a part of my life that I had put away, meaning old journals, and like what kind of thoughts and actions am I repeating that I thought I'd left in the past. It wasn't a time for me in the early months of the pandemic to think about new business ventures and how I was going to make more money when this thing ended. No, it was a time to do some rewiring, some redirecting of my DNA. And I didn't want to come out of this thing with this notion of a new normal. I believe the whole purpose of the revelations coming true and the whole globe stopping was for us to have the opportunity at a more frequent extraordinary. Do me a favor, though. The First Amendment has been bastardized. I'm all for it. I'm not all for the bastardization of the First Amendment. I'm all for the First Amendment. but the way that it's being expressed now is causing so many people the anxiety and the stress of what catastrophe's next. I'm asking you to do yourself a favor and quit living that reality. Quit buying into the fact that there's going to be some new normal after this pandemic's over. One time, one curse word. That's bullshit, because there'll be another one. There'll be something else, because the media has now realized that they can stir people up and cause this divisiveness in our society by way of, you pick the pandemic du jour, the race riots du jour, the election du jour. Don't buy into it. Step back and realize that those elements that others on this fantastic Global Hope Summit are going to talk about are opportunities for a new and more frequent extraordinary for you and for me. That's how I'm seeing it. And I am believing that as we come out of this, I mean, we're in a pandemic. I'm not denying that. I mean, I've got my mask right here. I wear it. I'm not an anti-masker or a pro-masker. I'm just Frank McKinney. Again, not buying into somebody else's reality. But as we come out of this, I'm envisioning and already implementing new opportunities. I think that stopping of the globe from 1,000 miles an hour to 0 was purposeful. For us to do that introspection, that self-analysis, to really determine, where were we really going at 1,000 miles an hour? Was my life going in the right direction? Yeah, I had to lock myself in my house for a couple of months. If that was painful for you, you need to reevaluate your life. If that was just almost unbearable, why is that? I mean, why couldn't you just stay alone? Why couldn't you be alone? Why couldn't you be with your family? Why couldn't you use the time to get inside the mind, get inside the heart, and get inside the soul to determine what is it that you truly want out of life? And for those of you who don't know, we run a pretty big, I don't like the word charity, because charity exacerbates poverty. It's free enterprise and capitalism that solves poverty. It's not charity. But we run a pretty big nonprofit that does base itself on self-sufficiency. And I had a chance to relook at that model. So what I mean by that is we built self-sufficient villages in Haiti. I've built 27 villages in 24 Haitian cities in the last 17 years, providing a self-sustaining existence to 12,400 children and their families. That were the children, if you could picture this as being a meat patty of meat, hamburger, that were actually eating dirt, not meat, dirt, flavored with bouillon and lemon juice. So we wanted that to come to an end. So we have been building these self-sufficient villages that combine housing, renewable food, real food, clean drinking water, a church, school, clinic, and some form of free enterprise, so the village can be self-sufficient. And to me, Global Hope Summit, the hope that we are creating in the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere by way of providing a self-sustaining existence. Listen, I abhor an entitlement mentality. I can't stand a welfare mentality. The programs are fine. What they were intended to do, when they were implemented, when they were designed or originated back in the Great Depression, it's fine. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get back to work. But in a place like Haiti, where the unemployment rate in many places is 80%, and the average infant mortality rate is 5 years old, meaning if you had a kid, there's a 22% chance it isn't going to make it to its 5th birthday. Providing hope in a country that doesn't have a government that they can count on. Like, if you don't want to be homeless in America, I can assure you that you don't have to live on the streets. There's many social service programs that catch the indigent, or can catch the indigent in the United States. So it's wonderful to see. You take the rawness of the poorest country of the Western Hemisphere, that being Haiti, and what hope can do for a small number of people. I mean, 12,400 sounds like a lot, but the population in Haiti is over 9 million. Drop in the bucket. But I know what hope looks like. I know what hope realized, I should say, looks like on the faces of the people, especially the children that we've helped in Haiti. And for those of you who are watching, let's try a little bit to focus less on the I and the me and more on the you and the we. You see, when we take that focus off ourselves and all the hardships we're having without being able to go to the iPhone store and buy an iPhone 11 because of the pandemic, oh, woe is me. Think about the poor children in Haiti. I don't know why I laughed at that. It's not funny. They're eating dirt flavored with bouillon and lemon juice. Tim and his crew wanting to bring hope back to the globe through this summit. The timing's perfect. I feel for the world right now. I feel for those who get caught up in the reality that's been created for them. Please tune it out and tune in what Tim's doing and what other people that'll follow me on the summit are sharing with you. This is where the hope lies. I'm telling you, I'm touring the country right now in a 1988 Yugo that has 113,000 miles on it with 61 horsepower. I've been to 16 cities so far. I've met dozens of homeless people. If you follow me on Instagram, or Instagram is the Frank McKinney, or Facebook, I'm putting up the stories of hope that I'm meeting along the way, and how most of America, and by the time I'm done, I will have put 7,000 miles on that thing, traversing America, getting input. The purpose of me getting input for my 7th book and actually, having it show up in my 7th book. I can't share the topic of the book. I can't share the title per the publisher yet, but it's a mindset book, and that is, it's appropriate actually that I'm on this tour at the time that Tim's doing his Global Hope Summit, because one of the things that I kind of was, I don't want to knock the summit. I'm not knocking the summit, but Tim, there's more people that have hope out there than you think. Of course, we can all use more hope, but I have in 16 cities and 10 states talked to random people from homeless all the way up to very important CEOs that are contributing to my new book. There's a tremendous amount of hope there. And it seems to me that the ones that have hope, use the downtime when the globe was spinning at 0 miles an hour to grow, to personal develop, to become better people, and realize that the manipulation that's taking place via the different screens, 1, 2, 3, 1 computer, 2 phone, 3 TV. The manipulation that's taking place and is removing a lot of the hope that we have and creating a tremendous amount of divisiveness. Create your own reality, people. Don't buy into that of which is created for you. If we didn't have these mediums bombarding us every day, how much better would we feel? I can tell you, for me, I've been on the road. I haven't turned on the damn TV one time. I rarely check the news. I am reporting stories from the road on, I guess now, hope, from people who are sharing I'm asking 2 questions, 2 primary questions that I'm asking, because there are 2 out of the 25 chapters in my new book that are posed in the form of questions, or that are presented in the form of questions. One of them is, what legacy do you aspire to leave behind? Think about that while I explain. Motivation washes off and goes down the drain with a soap at night. So as a species, as human beings, we weren't meant to stay motivated. You can't stay motivated. It's true. I can't stay motivated. Inspiration lasts about as long as a bad sunburn. Get sunburned, wears off in 2 weeks. Read an inspirational book, watch an inspirational movie, It's gone from your person in 2 weeks. It's aspiration that can alter your DNA and forever change your life and the lives of those you love. So I'm taking this aspirational tour across the country and asking many questions, but one, what legacy do you aspire to leave behind? Think about that. So it's kind of the headstone test. It's kind of the eulogy test, but you're not dead. You've got an opportunity when you understand that to me, aspiration is like, you know what a Fabergé egg is. Okay, so if you don't, look it up. It's a very expensive piece of jewelry. It's there's only like 6 of them in the world. To me, aspirations belong in a Fabergé box. They're sacred. I've aspired to like 5 big things in my life that alter my DNA. And honestly, and I think about each one of them, hope was at the base or the forefront of each one of those endeavors. It took me a long time to accomplish those aspirational endeavors that I would keep so sacredly in that Fabergé box. So, you know, as you watch all the other folks on this broadcast, believing, I hope you now understand that your motivation. If Tim did a crappy job on his summit, he will have only motivated you. He will only have inspired you. Not bad. I use motivation and inspiration to ignite aspiration. So when you take your computer or your phone and you turn it off, what legacy, after you're watching Tim's program, do you aspire to leave behind? It's a beautiful question. You know, the answers I'm getting, there's a chapter in the book that asks that very question, and many of these answers that I'm getting from the road are going to make it in there. So, you know, we've got about 10 minutes left. I can be long-winded, but, you know, for the most part, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Create your own reality, alter your DNA, live through aspiration. Know that there's more hope out there than the media portrays, than the screens. I call them the screens. Let's leave the media out of it. That's just part of it that the screens portray. And leave that legacy that you'd be proud of. Tim, that's really all I've got right now. I know we're supposed to have another 10 minutes, but unless you got some questions, or the audience got some questions, that's my thing.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. And I'll roll us out with a few questions here. First of all, I just want to say thank you for coming on, and I definitely appreciate you sharing this with everyone here. And you know, I love that, like as you said, like if all this does is get people to aspire to something better, then I think we've done something great. And there's so many out there. I think one of my someone asked me a similar question a long time ago about what I would want if I knew that I had, you know, X amount of time to live, which I like your question better. Like, what legacy do you want to leave behind? And I realized that part of what I wanted to do is share what I've learned with the world through my own life. And I think this summit is an extension of that. Like I definitely believe that there is a lot of hope everywhere, and I'm excited to hear that you're seeing that on the tour. Can you give us a couple ways or examples that you've seen that have been really powerful to you?
I mean, every stop. So I asked the question last night of a group of homeless people in a park in Manitou Springs. What legacy do you aspire to leave behind? And there was one. It's my most recent post on Instagram. It was a story about a transgender, you know, gender neutral individual who was kind of the patriarch, whatever, of the whole homeless camp. And, you know, a tough life that this person has lived, but only 28 years old. And I had never met, well, very rarely had met somebody with so much vibrance and love and joy and just bounding energy in a situation that she was in. I'll just refer to them as Stevie because that was the name. And I asked her, what legacy do you aspire to leave behind? And her simple answer was a wake of empathy. Then this person was an autistic savant. It was very fascinating to speak with a combination of transgender, autistic, savant, homeless, and the overseer of this homeless camp. Like, so for example, I came and I brought a pizza for them. She made sure everybody got a piece but Stevie. I would put a $20 bill into the box as well. I did this 3 nights in a row. I got to be very friendly with the whole group. Stevie made sure everybody got money equally but Stevie. So talk about a wake of empathy from someone who, there's a picture of me with Stevie on Instagram, again, the Frank McKinney, or on Facebook, just Frank McKinney, wearing no shoes. It's freezing out there. No shoes. It's really, really dirty. When people like that have hope and people like that have joy in their life, who are we to complain we can't go to the freaking iPhone store to get a new iPhone because it's a pandemic, or berate each other for wearing or not wearing a mask? At every stop, I'm seeing that. And the other thing that's kind of cool, Tim, is I'm seeing it. I interviewed people all the way from 18 to 87 so far, and I still got 2,500 miles to go. I'm seeing it a lot at the younger age, like the 30 and unders, how hopeful they are. And they're not getting into the hopeful that Donald Trump wins or Biden wins and what's going to change after that. It has nothing to do with that. Hopeful for the destiny that they're going to create for themselves. So when you put together the Global Hope Summit, you can view this or participate in this in 2 ways, in my mind. You either have no hope, right, and you're downtrodden and you're despair, you're deep in despair, and you're using this medium, which will give you plenty of hope. I'm telling you, it is out there in our country in bounds. Or you're going to be that beacon of hope. Like, you're going to continue to take what you've learned and say, you know what? I listened to Frank. I listened to all these other people. I'm going to create my own reality. Nobody's going to create it for me. I do want to alter my DNA, and I do aspire to leave a legacy that's meaningful, whether that's a tomato garden, a beautiful tomato garden, or 27 villages in Haiti and 12,400 children later. But aspire to something. And that's, I think, the beauty of what this whole time period could allow you, Tim, me, Frank, and you, the viewer, to do.
Yeah, I agree. That's so powerful, man. I think, and I've seen people with a lot of hope and people who, seem to follow any of the sort of negative trends that we see a lot of. So I guess the main question that I have for you out of all this, what's like the one thing that you can do as a viewer to ensure that you are maximizing the ability for you to make this shift in reality?
2 things, if I could. One is to create your own reality, right? And to really alter your DNA through aspiration. And the other is to take a risk. You've got to get outside. I'm not going to say your comfort zone, but risk. When we think about taking a risk in life, and let's say stepping out during this time and really trying to be a beacon of hope, we feel fear. Fear is only associated with the thought of taking a risk, not with the actual taking of the risk. Get into a roller coaster, get that metal bar down on your lap, you start going up that first hill, you're freaking out. Your heart's pounding, you're terrified of the thought of what's about to happen. Once you crest and you go down that hill, that fear is replaced with excitement and joy. And eventually we want to get to the end of the line and do the whole thing all over again. That's what I say do. Realize that when you're afraid of anything, you're thinking about taking a risk, the next sensation, next 4-letter word is fear. Fear is only associated with the thought of taking a risk. And the risks that you're contemplating, by the way, if you inventory them, are likely some big change or big challenge in your life. Could be relational, could be financial, could be spiritual, could be dietary. Thinking about taking a risk in one of those areas evokes the thought of fear, but the fear is only a result of the thought of taking a risk. If you don't take the risk, that fear will never leave you. Once you take the risk in this world that we're in now, it will be replaced with joy and excitement. The risk may not pay off,
Right.
but wouldn't you rather, I mean, everybody listening and watching is going to have regrets in life. Wouldn't you rather regret what you did, not what you didn't do? I'd rather regret getting on that roller coaster and puking than not taking the ride.
Yeah.
That's the best advice I could give everybody watching this fantastic movement that you've got here, Tim.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And like I said, we really appreciate you being on here. If I know you mentioned your Instagram and Facebook page, where can people find you? Is that the best place for people to?
The thing I want to do is Instagram is the Frank McKinney. Facebook is just look up Frank McKinney. I think it's Frank 10 or something. My webpage has been referred to basically Disney on a computer. So if you go to frank-mckinney.com, this is Frank with a hyphen McKinney.com, you can see the villages we built in Haiti. You can take tours of all 27 of them. You can see in the intro you gave, Tim, to the beautiful mansions I've built. Mm-hmm. You can read sample chapters of the 6 books I'm reading, or I've written, and the 7th book that I'm writing now. I mean, it's an exciting adventure. If you're stuck at home or you're at home at any time, frank-mckinney.com, the Frank McKinney on Instagram, and just Frank McKinney on Facebook. And Tim, I just want to thank you I know it took a lot of work. I was on the other end of those emails and all the coordination to put something like this together. Like, it's the first time I've been on this platform. This platform is fantastic. Everybody who's watching this, make sure at the end that you give Tim the respect and the applause that he deserves for putting this together. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Really appreciate you, man. Always good to see you and hear from you. And we'll talk soon. And have a great day. And really thank you for coming on here.
Enjoy the summit, everybody.
All right.